I never thought I'd see the day when my own son would look at me and see a wallet instead of a father. But that's exactly what happened. And if I'm honest, I let it happen. It started small, the kind of things any loving parent would overlook. Dad, can I borrow a little cash until payday? You know I'll pay you back, right? And I always said yes. Because that's what parents do, right? We help. We sacrifice. We convince ourselves it's love, even when it's just enabling. But that was only the beginning. The truth is, I raised him alone. His mother passed when he was 17, cancer took her before she could see him graduate. After that, it was just me and him against the world. I worked double shifts, sometimes falling asleep at the kitchen table, just to keep his life stable. And when he started college, I was proud. So damn proud. Until the first call came. Dad, I need help with rent. My roommate bailed. Then it was textbooks. Then his car broke down. Then emergency money for a friend. Every time, the same knot tightened in my chest. But every time, I said yes. Because when you've buried the love of your life, you cling to what's left, even if what's left is slowly taking advantage of you. A few months later, I started noticing patterns. He'd post pictures on Instagram, new sneakers, nights out with friends, trips I didn't know he could afford. The captions stung, work hard, play harder. But I never saw him working. Still, I stayed quiet. I told myself he was young. I told myself I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Dad, I've got a business idea, he said, excitement pulsing through the line. Crypto. Real estate. Passive income. I just need a little seed money, just a loan to get started. He sounded so confident. So sure. And God help me. I wanted to believe him. I pulled from my savings, the same savings I'd been building for retirement, and wired him $10,000. He promised he'd pay me back within 6 months. 6 months came and went. Nothing. When I called, he dodged my questions. When I texted, he left me on read. And one night, when I couldn't take it anymore, I drove to his apartment unannounced. The lights were off. The mailbox overflowed with unopened letters. And on the door, a bright red eviction notice. My heart dropped. I called him over and over, and finally, a text came through, Dad, please stop. I'm fine. I'll handle it. But I knew he wasn't fine. A week later, I saw him tagged in a friend's post in a nightclub, drink in hand, surrounded by people who looked like they hadn't worried a day in their lives. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't angry about the money anymore. I was angry that I'd raised him to think love meant no consequences. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my bank account. The numbers were lower than I'd ever seen. Years of sacrifice, gone. I tried to tell myself it was just money. But it wasn't. It was trust. It was respect. It was everything I thought we had between us. Then, one evening, he showed up at my door. Disheveled. Nervous. Avoiding eye contact. Dad, he said quietly. I need your help again. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see my little boy. I saw a man who had learned that every mistake would be rescued by me. What happened this time? I asked. He hesitated. Then he told me about the failed business, the loans, the people he owed money to. He said they were dangerous. And as much as I wanted to close the door and let him face the consequences, I couldn't. Not yet. So I did what I'd always done. I opened my wallet and handed over everything I had left. But deep down, I knew this was the last time. The last time I'd save him. The last time I'd let love blind me. Because something was coming. Something that would shatter whatever was left between us. And when it did, neither of us would ever be the same. I didn't hear from him for nearly 2 months after that night. No texts. No calls. Nothing. Silence has a way of speaking louder than words, though, and what it said was clear. I'd been used. Again. At first, I tried to convince myself he just needed time. Maybe he was sorting his life out. Maybe he was embarrassed. But late at night, when the house was quiet and the clock ticked louder than usual, I couldn't ignore the truth. He was gone, not just physically, but emotionally. Then one evening, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, this is Maya. I'm your son's girlfriend. I think you should know what's going on." My stomach dropped. She told me everything. The business he'd pitched to me wasn't his idea at all. He'd been scammed, a get-rich-quick crypto scheme that drained everything he had. But instead of learning from it, he doubled down. Borrowing money from friends, credit cards, even strangers online. When it all collapsed, he started blaming everyone else, me included. I just sat there, staring at her messages, numb. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to shout. But mostly, I just felt tired. A few days later, he finally called. "Dad, I need you." Just 3 words, and they hit me like a punch. He told me his car had been repossessed, his apartment locked, and he had nowhere to go. And despite everything, the lies, the betrayal, the endless cycle, I told him to come home. When he arrived, he looked like a ghost of himself. Thin. Pale. Eyes sunken, as if the weight of his choices was finally crushing him. He hugged me without saying a word. I made him dinner. He barely touched it. Over the next few days, he stayed in his old room, sleeping most of the time. I tried to talk, to bridge the silence, but he only gave me short answers. Until one night, over a cup of coffee, he finally spoke. "I didn't mean to use you, Dad. I just didn't know what else to do." I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, I saw the scared kid under the bravado. The boy who'd lost his mother too soon. The man who'd never learned where love ended and responsibility began. But sympathy doesn't erase damage. I told him gently, "Son, love isn't supposed to feel like debt." He looked down, eyes wet. "I thought I could fix it. I thought if I made more money, I could make it up to you." His voice cracked, and for a second, I believed him. But then the phone on the table lit up. A notification. From a betting app. I stared at it. He noticed. And the silence between us turned heavy again. "Are you still gambling?" I asked quietly. He froze. Didn't answer. That was all I needed to know. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. His room was stripped bare, clothes, laptop, even the spare cash I kept in the kitchen drawer. Gone. On the counter, a single note, "I'm sorry. I'll pay you back someday." That line, someday, it broke something in me. For the first time in my life, I didn't worry about him. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just let go. Weeks passed. I focused on my work, on rebuilding what I'd lost. The house felt quieter, but oddly peaceful. Until one evening, the phone rang again. "Mr. Thomas," a woman's voice said. "This is Officer Jenkins with the county police. Your son's been arrested. My chest tightened. What happened? She explained he'd been caught trying to withdraw money from a stolen account, part of some online fraud ring. The words barely registered. All I could think was, how did it come to this? When I saw him in the holding cell, he looked broken. His hands shook. His voice was hoarse. Dad, I didn't do it, he said. They used me. I swear. For a moment, I almost believed him. But the truth was, even if he was innocent this time, I didn't know how to trust him anymore. I'll get you a lawyer, I said. But after that, son, you're on your own. He didn't argue. He just nodded, as if he already knew he'd lost me. Over the next few weeks, I visited him a few times, but each visit felt colder, shorter. He stopped asking for help. Stopped making promises. It was like the silence had swallowed him whole. Then one day, his lawyer called. The case had fallen apart. Not enough evidence. He was free. When he walked out of the courthouse, he didn't smile. He just looked at me and said, I don't deserve your forgiveness. And for the first time in years, I believed him. We drove home in silence. The kind of silence that feels final. That night, he packed a small bag. Where will you go? I asked. I don't know, he said softly. But I need to figure out who I am without ruining you in the process. I wanted to stop him. To tell him to stay. But deep down, I knew, this was the moment he finally had to face himself. He left before sunrise. And for the first time since his mother's death, I cried like a child. Because losing your son isn't always about death. Sometimes, it's about watching him destroy himself, while you can't do a damn thing to stop it. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. Because 2 years later, he came back. And this time, it wasn't for money. 2 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw him walk out my front door. A duffel bag over his shoulder, eyes hollow but determined. I told myself not to wait, not to hope. But a father's heart doesn't follow logic. Every time the phone rang, a tiny part of me still thought, maybe it's him. Then, one rainy afternoon, it was. Dad? The voice was softer. Older. Weighted with something I hadn't heard in years, humility. I'm back in town, he said. Can I come over? I didn't answer right away. I just let the silence stretch, heavy and deliberate. Then I said, you know where the key is. When he arrived, I almost didn't recognize him. Gone were the designer sneakers and confident smirk. He looked leaner, calmer, with tired eyes that had finally learned what pain looked like from the other side. He stood in the doorway for a moment before stepping in. Nice to see you, Dad, he murmured. I didn't say anything. Just nodded toward the kitchen. Coffee's fresh. We sat in the same spot we used to argue in, same table, same chipped mug I'd refused to throw away. But this time, the air felt different. Quieter. He cleared his throat. I've been clean for a year. No gambling, no lies. I got a job, it's not glamorous, but it's honest. I'm trying to start over. I wanted to believe him. And for the first time, I almost did. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. I lost everything, Dad. The money, the friends, the fake business ideas, all of it. But I think I needed to. He looked up, eyes glistening. I used you. I thought love meant never hearing no, and when you finally said it, I thought you didn't care. But now. I get it. You were the only one who ever really did. For a moment, I couldn't speak. All the anger I'd carried, the disappointment, the resentment, it started to melt, leaving behind something quieter. Sadder. Realer. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "I know this won't fix what I did," he said, sliding it across the table. "But I've been saving. I want you to have it." Inside was a check, not much, but enough to feel like a gesture that mattered. It wasn't about the money. It was about ownership. Accountability. I stared at it for a long moment, then pushed it back. "Keep it," I said. "Use it to build something better. Not to pay for the past." He nodded slowly, tears welling up. "You really mean that?" "I do. Because I finally realized something too. I kept saving you because I couldn't save your mother. I thought if I just gave enough, worked enough, loved enough, I'd make up for losing her. But that wasn't your burden to carry." The room went quiet. Only the sound of rain tapping against the window filled the space between us. After a while, he spoke again. "I don't expect us to go back to how things were." "We won't," I said honestly. "But maybe we can start again, just differently this time." He smiled faintly. "That's all I want." That night, we ate dinner together for the first time in years. No tension, no hidden expectations, just a quiet meal, like two people learning to speak again after a long silence. As he left, he stopped at the door and turned to me. "I'm proud of you, Dad," he said softly, "for finally letting me face myself." And with that, he walked into the rain, not running from something this time, but walking toward a life he'd finally chosen. A few months later, I got a postcard. A picture of a small diner in another town. On the back, just a short note, "Still clean. Still working. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave up on myself. Love, Jake." I smiled, folded it gently, and placed it next to a framed photo of his mother. "You'd be proud of him," I whispered. Because in the end, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't even about the betrayal. It was about the lesson that love, real love, sometimes means walking away long enough for someone to find their own way back. Sometimes, karma doesn't come to destroy. Sometimes, it comes to rebuild. And when it does, you finally realize losing everything isn't the end, it's the start of something real. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments what you would have done if your child betrayed your trust. Share this with someone who's ever had to love and let go, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that make you feel something real.